Go ahead and call Drew. Drew feels the Pistons should be taking no bows in victory. Top seeds are supposed to vanquish 8 seeds, and needing to win 3 straight to survive only focuses further attention on what went wrong in the first place. And a Game 7 loss after such an emotionally charged comeback would have been more devastating if the Pistons had merely bowed out with a whimper in Game 5. Well, Drew certainly, one of the jobs, I think, of working in this business, and his business is a little different than ours, but I certainly want to stir the pot a little bit, and he certainly does that.
Yeah, he does.
Maybe stirs it a little much. I don't know. People keep talking about him, though.
Well, I suppose that's the main thing.
Someone says the description of the email or subject is Drew Sharpton.
No.
101 WRF Miller Lite, along with Motor City, Harley-Davidson, and Jerome Duncan Ford, give you the chance to win not only a limited edition 100th anniversary autographed number 2 Rusty Wallace 2003 Harley-Davidson Sportster, but you'll also score a 100th anniversary 2003 Ford F-150 Super Crew Harley truck. It's Harley Fest 2003. Qualify with a pair of tickets to our Harley Fest concert in the Freedom Hill in Sterling Heights featuring Saliva, and most importantly, a motorcycle key, which you'll try out at the festival. If the key starts to hog, you drive away with it, and the brand new Super Crew truck. Harley Fest 2003, brought to you by Miller Lite. Life is best told at a place called Miller Time, Motor City Harley-Davidson on Grand River and Farmington Hills. Remind you to think when you drink. Jerome Duncan Ford, Michigan's #1 Ford dealer, home of the guaranteed highest trade-in value and the RIF. We're going to take caller 32 in just a couple minutes. If anyone wants to have a word with Drew Sharp, 313-298-WRIF. And Drew, how you doing?
What's up, guys?
Hey, man.
Not much. I read your column this morning.
Shouldn't I be Coach of the Year?
Yeah, I see. Let's see. Rick Carlisle deserved my criticism last week. He's earned my praise this week. Do you think Rick? How hard does he work for your praise?
He did an excellent job the last 3 games.
Yeah.
Realized that he needed to change. He needed to change the way he was rotating his players. I mean, this organization was dissatisfied with, lack of a better word, his stubbornness.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
So you're entirely comfortable saying that?
Very comfortable. It's amazing in the past week, listening to people, fans and media also, who thought that this column just came out of thin air last week, that this basis that, there are no guarantees that a coach as successful as Rick Carlisle the last 2 years would come back for a 3rd year unless he makes some changes, especially if this team disastrously fails in the playoffs.
Well, you're probably right in terms of my analysis is that it is kind of out of thin air, Drew Sharp stirring the pot, that sort of thing. So if there's a solid basis within the organization for what you're saying, then I have to give you credit for good journalism.
It makes sense because,
I don't know if it makes sense.
Well, no, look at it from this standpoint. I have a feeling that Rick Carlisle, when the column came out last week, I think Rick Carlisle had a pretty good idea that it wasn't just Drew Sharp flying off the handle. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. He's a smart man.
Drew, was that a third-person reference?
Pardon?
Was that a third-person reference?
Yeah, he's talking about you, Drew. You have to trust Drews. Drews are the smartest people in the world. I think you know that, Drew. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel as smart as you feel today.
No, it's not feeling smart. It's just,
Now, can you say who in the organization was expressing this?
Talk with a lot of people. You talk with a lot of people.
Are they people that? Oh, I see. Okay.
As a reporter, this is what reporting is.
Sure.
You talk with a number of people.
Well, I don't do a lot of that sort of reporting like you do, but I just wondered because there have been a lot of things without names being named, and it's kind of frustrating when that happens. But I trust that there's something behind what you're saying.
That's the bottom line right here, and I think that I'm not bashful about saying what I think and telling it like it is, But
you didn't put words in anyone's mouths.
And that's the idea. You're not supposed to. If you're talking with various people who are maybe providing you information, they do that, of course, with the hope that you will keep their identity secret.
Are we talking primarily players here?
I'm just going to say I talked with a number of people within the organization, and it was pretty consistent with what the general feeling was. No one thought that Rick Carlisle was a rotten coach. To the contrary, but the general tone was that there's a difference between the playoffs and the regular season. Rick Carlisle had been outcoached in every playoff game going back to last year. And the primary reason for that was that when you get to the playoffs, it is about adjustments. It is about, exploiting matchups as well as you can. You can't coach a playoff game the same way as you coach a regular season game.
Do you think a first-round exit, though, really? I mean, could you possibly justify firing Rick Carlisle?
Again, as I wrote in the column last week, that if this team was embarrassed in the first round, Rick was going to have a sit-down and talk with the team over the summer. And if Rick did not agree to make changes, which management thought he had to make, he was not going to be here. Now, the whole idea is that Rick, being a smart man, is going to realize, look, I made mistakes. I'm going to learn. I'm going to make changes in the way I go about things. And then I'm sure he would have gotten a contract extension. Well,
yeah, I felt very confident that if they did go down, it would obviously be well. It's great to win 50 games 2 years in a row. This is a very disappointing end of this season, and how do we analyze it? And being a successful person that Rick Carlisle is, like you said, I would assume he would have probably made changes.
Exactly, and that's the whole idea. If he doesn't make changes, again, the point I'm raising last week was that his stubbornness is what's frustrating people. It's what's frustrating players. It was frustrating people within the organization.
But didn't Tayshaun Prince? He played a lot in Game 2, and he did a good job.
But here was the key, in that many people in the organization thought that because Orlando is an athletic team, the Pistons needed to utilize their athleticism more defensively. And Game 5 in the second quarter was the first time that Carlisle put in Prince and Okor. And that kind of set the tempo from a defensive standpoint for the rest of the series. Because if you recall, Games 3 and 4 in Orlando, the Pistons starters got them off to a good start with defensive intensity. Detroit had, I believe, twice had a 10-point or 12-point lead going into the second period. Then Rick would go to his standard rotation as he would in the regular season. And Orlando would seize upon that, and then they got back into the game. What Prince and Okor did was that it provided more athleticism so that when Tracy McGrady would try to attack to the basket, the Pistons would draw three guys on. When he tried to kick the ball back out, Okor and Prince were so athletic they can get back on the perimeter and contest those wide open shots.
Do you think Okor is that athletic?
For a big man, he is.
Yeah, I agree. He's pretty athletic. He's got a nice little move under the basket.
Than Cliff Robinson is.
I thought Tayshaun Prince had the fact that he gave him such a significant role in Game 2. That to me seemed like a little bit of coaching balls, if nothing else. And then
in the fourth quarter, when the game was a blowout, then
in Game 2,
Game 2 was a blowout in the fourth.
Tayshaun Prince played more than in the fourth quarter in that game.
A lot of people thought that, at that time McGrady had 46 points.
Game 2?
Did not. Yeah, it was like 46.
He had a huge game. It was 40-something. Yeah, he averaged 44.5 in the first two games.
Prince went out there in the fourth quarter and faced pretty much an exhausted Tracy McGrady. McGrady just carried the team on his whole shoulders. The thing was, what was important, I think the message that the Pistons wanted to send to Rick Carlisle was that you need to get these guys in there earlier so the team can feed off their defensive energy, the energy and their defensive intensity. And what you saw in games 5, 6, and 7, when the Pistons starters took a good lead into the second quarter, you bring in Okor and Prince, the defensive intensity kicked up even higher, and you saw them build onto those leads. That was the key. That was the key, because this is a defensive team. Mm-hmm. This is a defensive team. Their offense feeds off their defense.
Well, I'm amazed, Drew. You've managed to eat zero crow. Will you even acknowledge that maybe your article was one game too soon?
One game too soon?
Yeah.
No.
Do you think your article saved the Pistons?
No, I don't think it saved the Pistons. Rick Carlisle saved himself. You see, again,
he took the message.
You're saying that these guys read my column and decided, you ought to listen to what you're saying.
No, not exactly. They never admit to that, but I don't think it's quite as disconnected as players would have you believe.
Well,
I think they do listen to sports talk radio and that sort of thing and read articles.
That's dangerous, though.
Well, yeah, sure, it's dangerous, but they always say that, I don't pay attention to that stuff. But
I think Rick Carlisle knew very well if he read the column in Game 5, I think he knew where I was coming from. I think he knew where I was coming from.
I can't read his mind, but he certainly, the fact that Corliss moved out of the rotation and some of the changes that were made obviously had some impact. I think the team picked their ass up. They played fantastic games, the 2 games at home. The road win was obviously the difference in the series.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle did for the first time, and again, I think this shows his growth as a head coach for these last 3 games. He made an adjustment. The first adjustment he had made in, 15 playoff games going through last year was what he did in the second quarter of Game 5. Now, you could make the argument that perhaps he was told for Game 5, look, this is what you're going to do. You're going to play these young guys. You're going to get them in there, and you're going to keep them in there, even if they make mistakes, so that they're going to gradually grow. And I think you saw this in Tayshaun Prince from Game 5, 6, and 7. When you throw a rookie in there, and he knows he's going to get consistent playing time, you're going to see him play with more confidence. And I think you saw him in Game 7. You saw a different Prince in the second quarter.
Well, that was an offensive Prince and a defensive as well. And in Game 5, he played some nice offense, 15 points, 6 rebounds.
You saw it in Game 7, though. You saw him kind of run the offense a little bit, which he's always had that capability.
I was blown away.
And that's what happens. If you throw them in there and you tell them that they're going to be playing no matter what, even if you make a couple mistakes, we're not going to sit you down. You're going to see players play more confidently. And, again, that was the big key. And give Carlisle his props for recognizing that he had to bend his ways a little bit. That's what good coaches do.
How much Tayshaun Prince do you think we'll see in the Philadelphia series?
Well, I think you're probably going to see more Corliss and more Zeljko Rebraca in this series because Philly is a more physical team than Orlando is.
How do you like our matchup with Philadelphia?
Well, Cliff Robinson has to play better. I personally, I'm going to take Philly to win in 6.
Oh, in 6?
If you're a Detroit fan, you're probably, Sharp is probably going to be wrong again. So
no, I'm not. I'm not expecting any miracles in this series. I think the number 1 seed in the East it's a great thing because you get home court, but it's kind of a misnomer just because I think there are a lot of good candidates to get to the finals. Would you agree?
Yeah, they are. I mean, the Eastern Conference is the junior varsity of the NBA. That's just the way it is. But Cliff Robinson has not played well. I think he's showing his age, and you saw that in the first series with Orlando. And they're going to need him to really step up in this series because again, you're dealing with a much more veteran team in Philadelphia than what you had with Orlando. So I think the Pistons showed that you can blend youth with veterans and have it come out in a positive way for you.
What do we do with Allen Iverson?
Well, hopefully he'll get arrested before. Now, it's going to be easier to contain Iverson than it will be to contain McGrady because at 6'8", McGrady can kill you in so many different ways. Chucky Atkins is going to have to step up and have a big series too because you're going to have to rely on your quickness, as many quick people as you have, to try and keep Iverson under wraps. I mean, it's like T-Mac. He's going to get his points.
Did you think T-Mac choked a little bit?
You know what T-Mac reminded me of yesterday? He reminded me of Michael Jordan in his first couple years with the Bulls, in that in a big game like that, he didn't know whether or not he could trust his teammates to hit big shots.
He seemed like he was trying to trust them yesterday. I got the impression it was because a guy that shoots like that, he's got to keep shooting, doesn't he?
He's got to keep shooting, but I thought he did not play within the flow of the game. I think you saw that in the first games in this series. He was rushing it too much, and I think part of that was that he didn't have any faith in his teammates hitting the big shots that he would create for him, and that just goes to tell you how much farther they have to go. It reminds me of Jordan. Remember Game 7?
Sure. 94-73, the headache.
With the ice bag,
yep.
The migraine. That's what this was, and that T-Mac still couldn't trust his supporting cast to step up big, and until they grow up, it works both ways. He's got to have more trust in them, and they have to come through it and execute.
Drew Sharp's with us from the Free Press. I'd love to know what T-Mac shot yesterday in terms of what was not a layup. I bet he was probably 2 for 15 or something like that.
He only had a couple a couple drives to the hoop. Most of his shots were, and again,
did he make a 15 for 20 footer all day?
He might have made a couple. He's basically, his game in this year was basically, if he wasn't hitting 3-pointers, he was driving to the hoop.
Yeah, which he can do.
And that's why having Prince out there helped in that it took away his willingness just to rise up and shoot over Michael Curry. You know, it forced him, if they took away the drive, it forced him to hit, 15-foot shots, and that's not necessarily his strength.
T-Mac wanted to cover, or he wanted to bother Billups at least. I guess he was talking about that after Game 6, and I saw him on Chauncey a few times yesterday. That was amazing.
A mistake.
Yeah, it was pretty silly.
That was a mistake. What Doc
Wear the guy out?
Thinking, I think Doc Rivers bowed to the ego of a superstar because all that did was help Chauncey. Because if you're 6'8" against a guy like Billups, you can't get in his face because you're worried about him taking you off the dribble. So T-Mac would step back a bit, and Chauncey would just pull up and nail him with threes. Mm-hmm. It was a mistake.
Boy, one thing you do have to give the Pistons credit for is getting all these points out of Chauncey Billups. I mean, it's amazing. I know the guy's a scorer, but 77 points in 2 games?
That was as big of an offensive performance the Pistons have had from one player since the days of Isaiah Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in Chauncey because they needed a better go-to guy in the clutch. And the rap against Chauncey all these years is that he was basically a supporting player. That given a situation to shine on his own, he's not going to be able to achieve that. He struggled early in the series, but he stepped up big. And, the Pistons offense works when their defense is clicking because then they can control the tempo. I think you saw Chauncey, when they get the ball off a missed shot, he can dictate where he's going to go. Either he'll take the guy off the dribble or he'll pull up and take the 3-pointer. And he was dead on accurate in the last 2 games.
We haven't talked to Drew since the Lloyd Carr, Jeremy LeSueur brain freeze.
Only time you guys want to talk to me is there's something controversial, right?
It's always controversial with you, Drew, but you talk a good game. You seem to back yourself up.
It's not controversial. I tell people this all the time. A columnist has to be honest. He has to be honest in the way he goes about things.
But people don't agree always on what is honest.
Yeah, they're not supposed to agree with what I say all the time.
No, and I think part of a columnist's job is to stir the pot, too. So
it's not so much to stir the pot as much as it is, I think, to make people think. Some people might think of it as stirring the pot. And, I look at it this way. I don't think there's another columnist in this town who would have, taken the information that I got from the organization last week and run with it the way that I did.
Yeah,
it's unpopular. It's a very unpopular point of view to take.
Yeah, I'm surprised. And I know these guys, when you have columnists and guys that covered the beat or whatever, that spend a lot of time with the players, they hear a lot of things. There's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of conversations. And probably people don't necessarily expect to see those things in print. Maybe they don't care. If they're unnamed, I don't imagine they really care that much, do they?
Right. And as a columnist, it gives me a little more latitude in that regard, where a beat writer...
Oh, you don't have to quote people necessarily, or...
Right, because there's, column writing, if you're a beat writer, your job is to report what's going on. As a columnist, it is your job to tell people what you think about what you're reporting.
The beat writer has to live with those guys every day, too, so if he writes an article like that, there's the next day you can't just come in and just kind of, hey, how's it going?
I criticized Carlisle. I was there at practice the next day. Right in the face. A columnist has to do that.
What did Rick say anything? Did you talk to him?
Funny. He was clearly mad, and I'm walking up to I'm making sure that, I'm going to be right in his face if he has something to say to me, And I think some of the writers were surprised to see me there. So I'm right in his face, and I wink at him. And he winks back at me, cracks a little smile, and he goes, "How you doing today?" He says, "Hey, I'm doing fine." And some writer say that, "You want us to step aside so you guys can go at it?" Hey, that's why I'm here,
But you feel you really feel that he did what you were referring to, what you were talking about.
Yeah, I feel that he did. Again, like I said, I think he knew where the source of my information was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So he was not following Drew Sharp's instructions. He was following the instructions of the people who talked to Drew Sharp.
Another third person.
Twice in a row.
Now, a lot of our emails suggesting that they didn't know Drew Sharp won Coach of the Year, blah, 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 the same kind of... But I don't see many people calling in to pop off and talk to Drew directly, unfortunately. Hey, Drew.
Have him call. Come on.
Drew, Lloyd Carr, did he ever apologize to you about the brain freeze?
Did he apologize to me?
Yeah.
He said that he handled it poorly, and like I told him, we
handled it. There was really nothing to handle. I mean, it was the most absurd connection.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of Lloyd's. I think he's a fantastic coach.
And Lloyd and I have a good relationship, believe it or not.
Really?
We do have a good relationship. We both are stubborn people. We both are strong-willed in doing what we believe in. And I think we both realize that neither one is going to back down from the other. Lloyd's going to call me out if he disagrees with something that I've written, and the next day I'm going to be in his face to tell him.
Yeah, you two should get a room,
That's the way it's going to be. And that's the way I think that's not a bad relationship to have.
I don't know. The problem is when you're suggesting someone's attacking a disabled person, that's pretty strong stuff.
Yeah, I did not.
Handling it poorly is an understatement.
I did not come to him demanding for an apology because I don't think, columnists who are paid to offer their opinion should be asking for apologies. I mean, I got a call. I'll tell you a story here. I got a call from an ESPN producer I work with on SportsCenter fairly often. They called me up to apologize to me for what they thought what was said about me on the air.
Yeah, it was pretty. They were pretty harsh. I mean,
I didn't hear it.
Are you referring to the Carlisle story?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're pretty harsh.
I did not hear it because I was covering the game. My brother called me up. He said, "Man, they're really going after you on the air." I go, "Well, did they mention my name?"
Oh, by the way, I might as well mention your book. Your book has been out for a while now, Drew, and is it a collection of your columns?
A collection of columns over the first 5 years of the columnist. Razor sharp. What I think makes it unique is that as a native Detroiter, I think I could offer an insight, a perspective of suffering through a lot of these teams, particularly a certain football team that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
More so than other columnists who've worked in this town.
Tony, you there? Wait, let's try. Hold on, Bill.
Yes.
Go ahead. You're on with Drew.
Hey, Drew.
Hey, Bill, what's up?
Good morning, Drew and Mike. Great show.
Thanks.
Listen, Drew, I just think I've read your column, which I don't anymore because of the things that you come up with.
Why are you calling me?
The fact that you use unnamed sources, I don't think you talk to anybody. I think the Pistons are more united than what you give them credit for. I don't think you like the fact that there's a white coach coaching the Pistons. Hey, man. I don't believe anything you say.
You made my day, Bill. I applaud you, my friend. I'm standing in my chair right now giving you a standing ovation. I applaud you. You made my day.
Well, you shouldn't be applauding me. You should be applauding the Pistons.
Drew did applaud the Pistons to some degree. But thanks for the call, Bill.
Yes, I always
we have a lot of emails that are saying, I'm glad somebody called in and said at least what people seem to be thinking. Do you feel that you have a different standard for an African-American coach?
Absolutely not.
No? Were you hard on Chaney, for example?
Oh, no. It was a bad coach. You guys forget, I was the first columnist to call out Bobby Williams at Michigan State and demand that
I recall that.
I was the first one to do that. And I got nailed in the black community for saying that I'm trying to appease to my white audience. What people don't realize is that, supposedly black people are the only ones who see color.
Mm-hmm.
And, supposedly we're the only ones who see color.
Well,
everyone tells me
that's not true. But some people see an awful lot of color,
and it's ridiculous. It is my job. Again, like I say, it's my job as a columnist to be honest in my criticism. That means it works both ways. It transcends color. What it means is that whomever I'm talking about or writing about, I'm going to call it as I see it. Now, for those people to say that, I have an issue with Rick Carlisle because he's white, I would hope they would hold the columnists at the Indianapolis papers to the same standard. If a white columnist is calling for Isaiah Thomas's job, then are they not? You have to use that same stereotype and look at that situation through that narrow type of focus.
Do you think the circumstances are a little different, though? Carlisle's turned around a franchise that really was struggling terribly, and Isaiah's taken a franchise that was in the finals a couple years ago, and they're...
Here's an interesting thing. Rick Carlisle, people thought, should have gotten the job at Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he not get the job at Indiana? because Indiana wanted to go with a young team. They did not want veterans. They wanted to go with a younger team.
So you're reinforcing your point.
Rick Carlisle wanted veterans around him. That's why he didn't get the job, because the Pacers were committed to going young. That's why.
Do you think Isaiah's going to last?
I don't know. I think that he probably will get another year. I'm not sure what his contract situation is quite. It's not like in Rick's case where he has to get an extension this summer.
He wasn't going anywhere, though.
I think Isaiah is probably going. He's probably got a 5 or 6 year deal.
Rob?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Say something to Drew.
I'd just like to say, I think no one knows more about Drew Sharp and talks better about Drew Sharp than Drew Sharp.
Someone's got to say nice things about me.
I respect your opinion.
I appreciate it.
That's big of you, Rob. Not many people saying that today.
Yeah.
Tony's going to actually go along with you. Or is it Tony? Or no, Southpaw's there. I'm sorry. We lost Tony. Your supporter hung up. But go ahead, Southpaw.
Hey, what's going on? I have a hard time believing any word this guy says. Seeing that you have never played the game. You sound like you never played the game. You don't know nothing about the game. You may have booked the game, but you have never played the game. I think Rick is an excellent coach for this team now. Whether he's fired or whether he does this or whether he does that, that's all well and good. You know what I'm saying? Every coach is going to come under that scrutiny when they're here. But for you to get on and say that he needs to be fired and this and that, that's totally wrong.
Again, I did not say he needed to be fired.
What did you say then?
I said that if this team fails and he doesn't make changes, he's going to lose his job.
Now, why would you say something like that?
Because
you pushed us to 50 wins. 50
because
wins.
I am telling you, there are those within the organization.
I mean, listen, you sound like a donut, man. You're glazing yourself.
Hold on, just let him finish.
Play the game, man. So, do you know anything about the game?
Hold on, Southpaw. Let him just finish what he says.
A sports columnist has to play professional football to write about football? That's dumb. That's stupid. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, as opposed to going over what a guy's role is or what a columnist's job versus beat writer, I think it's just really important to try and stick to what's said. And it is unfortunate that you're getting all these comments and you're not really able to name the people. I think that's the hardest thing for people. If you name names, I think it'd be a lot easier for people to just say, "Hey, that's pretty harsh."
This is how it works in journalism, though. This is how stories.
But isn't that kind of spineless to just make all these really harsh criticisms? And I'm not referring to you necessarily, but for the players themselves to say, I think the guy's got to go. If he doesn't make changes, he's got to go. He's had 2 great years, but we can't get to the next level and then not be held responsible for his comments.
Again, people interpret the column as saying that I'm calling for his head.
If he doesn't make changes, but he's only 1 game from going out.
And see, here's where I think people misinterpreted the tone of the column. The thing is, if Rick Carlisle doesn't make changes, he's going to be out. Now that's different from what people are saying that you're calling out for his head.
It's still a strong statement. Southpaw, anything else you want to wrap up?
No, man, just Pistons is about it. Just recognize that's all, and quit all your negativity, B.
What negativity?
Recognize.
Yeah, it's honesty.
Drew supporter John. You support Drew Sharp.
Yeah, I think this Mike Tirico was the one that called out Drew. By the way, Drew, I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm so tired of how they miscast what you said. You never, ever, ever said that he should be fired. But at the end of the year, Dumars would get together with him, and if they don't see eye to eye and they don't start playing this young talent, then maybe they should part ways. And Tirico, he's connected to the Stoney and Wojo show, and I think part of this stuff is that Drew used to be on that station, now he's on the other station.
Well, I don't.
You never know.
I mean,
and that can cut both ways.
Yeah.
Drew, if you were still on 11:30,
Tirico
wouldn't have said nothing.
No, that has nothing to do with it. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think what it comes down to is that through my career in Detroit, I developed a reputation of being a columnist not afraid to make the hard comments, to take the unpopular stand.
Like Mitch Albom used to be until he started. I
don't remember that.
I really appreciate the way you do tell the truth, and it's just your opinion. And all these other guys are just reporting what the company line is, which is okay for beat writers, but what the heck do you want out of a columnist?
Well, it's kind of boring.
Well, I look at, again, I appreciate your comments, and I applaud the fact that you actually read the whole column and got out of it what I intended out of it. But
my question is, why didn't Tayshaun been playing all year? I've been screaming to everybody that I know that kid needs to be out there and get seasoned. And that was a mistake by Carlisle.
No, Rick.
Well, Rodney White before that, but Rodney White appears to not have been worthy of any time.
Rick had to decide what he felt were the best way for him to get this team ready. And I think management realized, okay, you're the head coach. We hired you to do this. Go ahead and do it. And Rick also felt that he thought that they could play the same way they played in the regular season and do well in the playoffs. And the playoffs are a different animal altogether. You have to make some changes. You have to shake things up. You have to make adjustments to be successful as a playoff coach. And I think that, the team saw that their predictability was just stifling them. And you saw that in games 3 and 4 in Orlando. And they did the thing that you can't do when a number 1 is playing a number 8. You gave a number 8 seed confidence in feeling that they're a better team than you. And to Rick's credit, like I said, I criticize him for it, but to his credit,
he earned your praise.
Whether he was forced into it or whatever, he acknowledged that, look, damn it, I have to change. If I don't change, I'm going to be in trouble. And he changed.
Drew's book is called Razor Sharp, available in all the bookstores around here?
It's available at Borders, Barnes & Noble. You can also order it. It's $14.95 from go to www.freep.com/bookstore.
And Drew says Philadelphia in 6, which will give people more to bitch about.
Hey, they're happy when they're bitching, huh?
It's kind of fun to bitch.
Hey, you know what? You got to have broad shoulders to take it, so.
What's tomorrow's column or Wednesday's column?
Wednesday's column? Alan Trammell should be fired. No.
Hey, what do you think of Dimitri Young's comments, by the way? Did he stick his head up his ass?
I think that, since the Tigers are only attracting 15 people, I think Dimitri Young should go to all 15 people and tell them that, you know what, you should be supporting us a little more. Yeah, that one was really out in left field. And then Eric Munson really didn't back him up, says, nobody's really giving me a hard time. I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, it's a frustrating year. I think the happiest person right now that the Pistons are still alive in the playoffs is Alan Trammell. Yeah, I have to agree. You going to break down the series on Wednesday? You give us a little breakdown, but you're going to have more on that in your Wednesday column? Well, Wednesday will be Game 1. Oh, that's right. We'll play the game. Game 1 is tomorrow. Game 2 will be Thursday, and it should be an interesting series. Yeah, it's been fun out at the Palace. The place has really been rocking. Yesterday was the first time that I could recall the Palace sounding anything close to what it did in the Bat Boys days. Mm-hmm. And that's good. This is hockey town. This is a football town, but it's nice to see that there's still some basketball fans out there and very passionate. More every day. Thanks, Drew. Take care, guys. All right, Drew Sharp. Appreciate Drew coming on today. At least he gets the press. Yeah, no, he does a great job of acquitting himself, I have to say. I still have a little problem with the harshness. I don't know. It's just so easy to be dismissed, just to put a record of success up on the board, and then you have a little failure. It's not a little failure for number 1 to get beat by number 8. And then all of a sudden it just brooms all that success, and, hey, you've got this one Achilles heel, and if you don't change it, bye-bye. I don't agree with that. I don't know where that comes from, because he's not naming the people in the article. And I don't like these guys, and there's some guys in town who will say things and will back up their comments and say, I don't care if you use my name or not. Steve Yzerman says something. Obviously, something serious is gone afoul, and he's made some strong comments from time to time. Scotty Bowman, of course, he's a coach. It's a little different, but he makes strong comments. Brett Hull's a guy that speaks his mind, and I appreciate that. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We've had some Tigers who have made some comments, but that was on a terrible team, and a lot of times it was the same people just ragging and criticizing and not really being very constructive. Of course, Ben Wallace kind of did the same thing. He called out his teammates, though. He made some strong statements, and, I said to Lambert, should he have named names? And Bill said, no, that's not the way it works. But I don't know, I think when you're writing, is a column really that different from a beat writer in terms of naming names and that sort of thing? I don't know if I see the distinction there.
But if you're going to say something that strong, that, if he doesn't change, he's got to go, I'm not sure you shouldn't put your name alongside something like that, or just not say it. But Drew implies that this is something that was held, a view that was held fervently throughout the Piston organization. I got the impression, didn't you get the impression it was more with the players? He mentioned reference to players. Dumars was asked. Yeah,
definitely, that he was talking to. He said he was talking to the players.
Dumars was asked if Carlisle's job was ever really in jeopardy, and the article implied that he just kind of smiled and said, I don't think so. And he's Joe's hire. I don't believe Joe is going to be that brutal. And I think if they'd had a first-round failure, surely they would have sat down and said, what went wrong here? And Rick Carlisle's been awfully successful. I would have to believe that he would want to make some changes or get to the bottom of it. So, I don't know. I think the article may have been a little premature, maybe a little harsh. But if there's a basis for it, if people are really saying the things that Drew's saying, and of course we can't really know that because we don't know who they are. That's the part that frustrates me. But boy, I tell you what, he does stir up the email. He gets people going, and that's not all bad. But boy, he does. Tell you what, it's funny how often he seems to get people pissed off at him as opposed to at someone else, and he doesn't seem to mind.
That's all right. Not at all.
If you can take the heat, I guess it's okay. We'll take a break. We got Trudy one more round. It's 10:35 at WRF. We'll be right back.